What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Cole, DC UPenn's finest, Chris Coacher, CB Coacher Boy. We got another great episode for you guys today. Week 2 in the NFL wrapped up, and this is the time where you really just start being delusional. Whether you're a Saints fan and you're 2-0 and you just beat the crap out of Dallas, in Jerry World, or you're a Panthers fan and you kind of just realized, what were you even happy for? So that's kind of the topic of today's discussion. We're going to be talking about some 2-0 teams, not the Saints specifically, but 2-0 teams who are kind of might be fraudulent. 2-0, they might have, got a lucky bounce to their way there, and we're not 100% sold on them just yet. And then some 0-2 teams where, we can press the brake a little bit. It's not over yet. And there are some things that they can clean up on to potentially, still go be a Super Bowl contender or a playoff contender, depending on the caliber of the team. But before we get into any of that, got to start with Summit's Plummets. Danny, get us kicked off.
Man, the Panthers really been like, Bryce Young, what do you even do?
They're about to find out what the problem is real fast.
It's real not fast. Bryce Young. Yeah.
When Andy Dalton goes out there and puts up 250, man, we might have to look in the mirror. Bryce Bros.
Look in the mirror.
Bryce Bros.
All right, man. I'll tell you something. I don't think Bryce is the sole problem. Is my thing.
Yeah. He's not the sole problem. Absolutely. Regardless of what Andy Dalton does.
He is a problem. He's not
defense
all
goes
of
out there on Sunday and magically gets better. It's like, dude, come on. Does Bryce Young have a little bit of Herbert in him where he can't inspire his defense to play better? More on that.
I don't know. I think my plummet to start the week is with the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and namely what Howie Roseman did in the offseason, actually. So to sound crazy, every D-line acquisition that he's had in the last 2 years has vastly underperformed. And it's disappointing, like to say the least. It's disappointing. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter apparently is missing team events that's why he got benched.
Jalen Carter's not playing well regardless. So
he's not playing great, but like he's getting benched.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis actually looked okay. Like he looked competent, but like he didn't look great.
At some point he absorbs 2 people every single play. Like that's great. I've seen
Brandon Graham. Dude, Brandon Graham could do the same thing.
Exactly. Why is Brandon Graham and Milton Williams our main source of pressure? A guy in his 15th year and our 3rd string D tackle?
Come on, man. He been in the NFL. He's like the Brown of the NFL when it comes to longevity.
Well, because Brady retired. But I get where you're getting at. Like, this dude's old. Like,
yeah.
This
He's
old. Wears number 0. And it checks out.
Man, he wears number 0.
0 QB hits, 0 tackle for loss.
He's the Deion Waiters of the NFL.
What does that mean?
30 minutes.
Snow.
30 minutes, no stats.
No, that's Tony Snow, my man.
No, Deion Waiters.
I don't think Deion Waiters has ever clocked a stat line like that.
I don't think score extraordinaire Deion Waiters would ever do some crap like that.
Deion Waiters not leaving the game without a bucket.
I'm pretty sure he went 0 for 30. I'm pretty sure he went 0 for 30 one game.
No, he went 0 for, no. I think he went 0 for I think somebody was asking him about going 0 for 11, and he was like, I would have went 0
I'd rather go 0 for 30.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I got a board.
Something like that. Anyway, but that's the plummet. The Eagles blow. The defense, namely, I don't put much blame on the offense. I do put blame on the coaching staff for not going for it on 4th down. I was talking with my friend who at the Eagles game who actually works for the Eagles. He's the analytics department. He said that it's actually a go from up to 4th and 7 in that when you're up by 3, because teams play more aggressively when they're down by 6 versus down by 3. Basically you almost get a guaranteed overtime if you don't get the first down, and if not, you're going to go down there and get the first down and it's game over. So very, very big issue with the decision making, both on the first, not taking the points on 4th and 4, and then on the second one, not going for it to try to ice the game out. I did like the play call on third down, though. I'm going to be contrarian. So I like passing the ball because Hurts put a ball in the right spot. Barkley dropped it. It's a bad drop. It happens. It's football. I will say there is a summit. There's a summit to every plummet. So the summit of the week is going to be that Brandon Marsh is playing good baseball. It's
that is great news.
He was bad for, I think he was hurt actually and he was bad in playing hurt for a good portion of the season, and he's been playing pretty good baseball recently. Phillies are getting healthy. They're getting all their players back just in time. I think October's in 2 weeks, man. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Just I wanted to make one more note on the Eagles thing. Is with that play call specifically, it's not a bad play call. I mean, Saquon catches it. It's a phenomenal play call. Who would have thought pass in that situation? But same time, I think they should have had fourth down in mind anyway. That they're going to go for it. So in that instance, they had no plans of going for it on fourth down. I think that's why they threw it. But then again, you should have had fourth down in mind. You probably should have just ran it twice. And there's just, I was telling Chris before the broadcast, there's no reason why Nick Sirianni has a job and Bill Belichick is jobless. Absolutely no reason. Nick Sirianni is the only thing he contributes to the game at this point is these clock management and these, whether to be aggressive or conservative decisions. That's all. Game management is your thing. You don't call plays and you don't call anything on defense. And you can't execute your aspect of the game. Not saying Fangio did. His bend don't break is not really off to the hottest start, but he forced several field goals for a big portion of the game. I wasn't too mad at Fangio. And Kellen Moore, while in certain situations I'm questionable of why he'd call a certain play, he doesn't draw up a bad play though. Considering pre-stat motion, route concepts, I think all the plays are good. He's an excellent bag. I just want to know his thought process a little bit more. But through 2 weeks, I'm very pleased with Kellen Moore. I know, of course, some people may be up to. I've been pleased though. So enough crying about the Eagles. They suck. They're gonna get stomped next week when I get to go see them in person in New Orleans. Let's move on to Chris though.
Let's see. I had a couple I could say. Been having a pretty good week. What can I say? Oh, so we won our men's league game yesterday, so we're 2-0 on this new season. We're trying to not be the Celtics of old and be the Celtics of new and not just make the finals, but actually win them. We've made 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row. So off to a 2-0 start in this one. Hopefully we can run it back. So that's a summit. Shout out to that. Double summit. Asia Wilson eclipsed 1,000 points recently, just more so cementing her as in her GOAT status. I don't think she's number one just yet. This is a little more things she has to do, just a little more longevity. But she's like in that Mahomes category to where she's top 5 right now, and probably more so closer to top 3. But you're not necessarily saying it. So just cool to see her continue to get her accolades and continue to just help grow the game of WNBA basketball. So yeah, I said those my summits.
Yeah.
Like that.
I'm pretty sure the WNBA, I haven't checked Twitter in a while, but I'm pretty sure they're going to drop the expansion news soon if they didn't already. So that's some pretty good news going on in the W. So I guess Summit, because I guess those do have to exist, completely irrelevant from all of sports. Did hit them all today. Did get that for any weekend fans watching it. That is House of Balloons, separate from the rest of the trilogy, which it should be, because Thursday and Echoes of Silence are great, but House of Balloons is right there. Danny, you're about to cut me off. What?
I am a fan of The Weeknd, both the artist and the actual Weeknd.
Danny, can you name me one Weeknd album?
Album?
Yeah, give me one. Wow. That's crazy. You couldn't give me one?
Nope.
Wow.
I don't know album names. I know song names.
You got to tap in, bro. Zero reason why you're listening to country music and not my boy. But anyway, yeah. Did that. Got some clothes. Super chill day. Plummet, we'll keep it away from the Eagles as well, because whatever. The Plummet is that Drake May is not playing. Like, it was so evident in that second half against Seattle that, like, the Patriots have no business putting Jacoby Brissett out there. He cannot push the ball down the field at a consistent rate or at all. The dude needs to play. It's pretty much just that simple, and I hope they figure that out. Actually, I do have another Plummet. Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, hilarious guy. He tweeted out, breaking, Dolphins sign former Pro Bowl QB. I'm like, bro, they signed Cam Newton. Let's go. They traded for Andy Dalton. Let's go.
Tyler Huntley?
Snoop Huntley. I'm like, dude.
Legend Snoop Huntley. Baltimore legend Snoop Huntley.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Pro Bowl. Pro Bowler.
They were bringing Cam back in the game.
Pro Bowler.
Cam can make some one-read throws. He could do it.
Pro Bowler. Pro Bowler Snoop.
Pro Bowler with 6 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Call him what you want. He got that Brad Miller All-Star game nod. That boy Brad Miller
got that Kyle Korver blessing, yes.
Fact.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I had to say.
Can I do another Plummet?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I did this last one real quick, and this is a Plummet for me. If for all our loyal listeners, y'all heard me. I wasn't necessarily hating on Caleb Williams, but I decided to see the hype, and then y'all see me come over to the side of Caleb Williams, right? I have been more so on the Caleb Williams side than the people I seen 2 months ago who were waiting for this dude to come. He has 2 not even bad games. One game was not great. The other game was below average. And that is just, we should have kept Justin Fields, or Jay Cutler's the best quarterback in Bears history. It's just like, brother, at least give him 8 games before you start saying that. At least give him 8. Can you just get half of a season? That's all I'm saying. That's been the Plummet. It's just watching people literally. And now it's like they're rooting for him to fail now. Because now all I see now is he spent too much time painting his nails, then read. It's like, brother, please, just 8 games. Can we just give him 8 games and then evaluate, please?
It's because they realized that a quarterback with hobbies like Kyler Murray is balling out, so they have to go take their frustration out on someone else who has hobbies. Williams, he hasn't been good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for him. I have very high expectations for him. That second game looked infinitely better than the first game, and he played a better defense. On every single episode, you will see me wearing some kind of hat, whether it's a snapback, whether it's a dad style hat. I always got to have something to complete the outfit. And the only place where I get my hats is lids.com. Lids.com has so many different brands, and of course they have a bunch of different styles. Like I just said, it could be dad hat, snapback, it could be fitted, it could be Velcro back. Whatever you want, they got it. And with the NFL season coming up, I know you're going to want to rock and represent your favorite squad. Me personally, I'm a big Eagles guy, and I love this 47 brand throwback hat that I got from lids.com. Or if you're more of a snapback guy, I also got this NBA champions Boston Celtics new era cap from lids.com as well. If you like either of those hats and you feel like you want one to represent your squad, click the link in the description below. Whether it's new era or 47, both links will take you right to lids.com. And the best thing about Lids, they always have some type of deal going on their website. So make sure you click that link and check out any deals they got going on at lids.com.
Well, you couldn't get much worse after that.
That is fair. But against a better defense, he stepped up his play. I would just say the biggest issue with them, they clearly need more chemistry. DJ Moore has to be like a little bit more patient with him, because he was having, I want to say antics, that's a wrong word, but he was clearly upset, and that's fine. No one wants to lose. Everyone wants the ball. This was a 1,400-yard receiver last year, if I'm not mistaken. So, and Rome Odunze, you got to catch that one in the end zone. They end up scoring, so whatever. And on that last play, Williams made the right read. It's clearly a choice. the safety's playing you hard over top, you come back to the out or the comeback route, which is what Odunze did, or what he should have did. Williams throws that ball, roams openly running into double coverage. He was trying to help him. So yeah, I'm not exactly worried for the Bears. Yeah, but we can move on to the two and basically who we're basically putting people on fraud watch for lack of a better term. The current 2-0 teams, though, I'll state them for those listening, and maybe you can chime in with your own opinion. But 2-0 teams as follows: Bills, Chargers, Chiefs, Steelers, Texans, Seahawks, Vikings, Saints, and Buccaneers. Either you want to go first, because I do have a team in mind.
You can go first.
Yeah.
I'm about to say yeah.
All right, yeah. So the team that I think is most clearly on fraud watch out of this list, it's the Seahawks. The Seahawks has flat out just been unimpressive through 2 games. I mean, we're talking against teams, the Broncos and the Patriots, who are 2 teams who are going to be picking in the top 5 this year. Like, we knew that before the season, and they haven't looked great either. I mean, the Patriots had an excellent week 1, but does week 1 Bengals even count? I don't know. But Geno has been good. DK has been great as well. Jackson Smith-Njigba easily had his best game as a pro last week. But this defense wasn't being able to stop the run of the Patriots. Limited the pass game in the second half, but like I said earlier, Jacoby Brissett is not necessarily doing wonders there, sitting back there in the pocket. They're scratching and clawing against these awful teams. So while the offense has kind of found its footing against, said bad teams in the Broncos and Patriots, the defense hasn't overly wowed me. That defense allowed the Broncos to stay in the game despite Bo Nix playing absolutely horrible. And the Patriots should have iced this game. They had the ball less than 5 minutes in opponent territory. Zero reason this game goes to overtime. And you had the lead. Zero reason why this goes to overtime. It was just an overall blunder by the Patriots offense. So I'm not moved. But again, I'm not saying they can't make playoffs. They're certainly not contending for a Super Bowl, but I'm not saying they can't make the playoffs. I'm saying the offense clearly has an upside. I think they need to work out some things on defense, but as it stands with the rest of 2-0 teams, I don't necessarily think they're of that echelon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they certainly, with the Niners not having Debo or Christian McCaffrey for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, looks like there's an injury bug out in San Francisco. It happens every few years, actually. Happen every time they make the Super Bowl, they seem to happen the next year they get hurt. So I think the division's kind of wide open. I think the Niners are still clear favorites, but I think the division is open if the Seahawks were to get some defensive consistency. Geno is a solid quarterback. They have weapons. They have probably some of the best weapons in the NFL, if you're being honest. They had JSN, DK, Noah Fant's not no slouch.
2 good backs in K9 and Zach Charbonnet. Yep.
Yeah, so I really like their offense's potential. I love their coach. And I just think that getting more consistency from the offense and having that young O-line play better together is going to work wonders.
I agree. Chris, you have anything to add on the Seahawks?
No, I think y'all pretty much said it. I think it's just their wins, which is mid-tier, I think. And I think it probably makes them look a little better than the 2-0 really says. So, yeah, I agree with everything y'all said for real.
No, but if I'm going to be completely honest, the next team, it's obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's not that they're frauds. It's that they don't belong on the list with the other teams. And I'm not saying that they're not going to be a playoff team. I think that the Steelers will make the playoffs. I'm relatively sure that with Justin Fields playing efficient football, the Steelers have a solid run game. They're getting Sayamalu back in a few weeks. Like they will get better with Roman Wilson coming back. They might make a move for wide receiver. They're only going to get better, right? But the thing is, you cannot rely on a defense in the year of 2024 to win you every single football game. At some point, you're going to have to score 25, 20, 30 points to go win a football game. And it might not be against the Broncos, and it might not be against the Falcons. The Falcons are a sneaky, decent team. They are a decent team. They're not amazing, but they're a sneaky, decent team. So, I think the Steelers get put to the test with back-to-back AFC West opponents with the Chargers and Raiders. But so I wouldn't say they're on fraud watch, but they very similar to the regards of the Seahawks. They don't have the same high-level opponent they played, but when it comes to their defense is high class. So you have nothing to worry about there. They've allowed 16 points in the season.
Yeah, I definitely see where you could be getting out of that one. Chris, did you have anything to chime in with on that one?
I don't know. I don't want to be too biased because clearly JF 2-0 is one of my guys. But I don't know. I like the way the Steelers looked. And I mean, if the Ravens are going to look as bad as they are, I don't think they're going to continue to lose every game. But if they look as beatable as they're going to look, the Chiefs are who they are. I mean, the Browns employer predator. I think the Steelers can literally end up being that second best team. Like if they continue on this trajectory, not saying go undefeated, but I really like what they're doing. And what Danny said, I think is most important. The defense is going to hold it down for the most part. And I think as the offense continues to play a little more together, I'm not going to say they're going to average 25, 30 points, but I think they can do it 2 or 3 times, if they need to. So I've become a fan of just watching the Steelers. Like I said, it seems like they're working together, like just working as a team, cohesive unit. So I just like the way they look in that sense. So I don't know if I would have put them over the team I would have as far as, but I do see Danny point too.
All right, I'm going to tell you something though. From the first 2 weeks of this year compared to the first 2 weeks of last year, the Steelers have 20 more minutes of possession, and that changes everything. The fact that they're possessing the ball, sustaining drives, driving down the field, and not just going 3 and out like they did with Matt Canada, that changes an offense. Even if they're getting to a field goal range, you take it a field goal. Putting points on the board, sometimes you feel good. Sometimes you get to the 30-yard line and you're like, the offense feels good. Because look, 2 field goals is relatively equal to 1 touchdown. It's a little bit less, but it's relatively the same. So if you're scoring a field goal every drive, it's not the worst case. I mean, you want to put touchdowns on the board, but it's not the end of the world.
I definitely get what you mean. I kind of wanted to steer clear of the Steelers because, I mean, when we're talking about like fraudulent wins, like the Seahawks, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. That was kind of sad, the way they won these 2 games. But the Steelers, it's like those are just what Steelers victories look like. And maybe that just means the Steelers are inherently frauds, but I don't think that way. Like, I'm never going to, like, okay, the Steelers, let's say they got the Broncos tomorrow, just for example, or whatever. I don't expect them to go out there and win by 20 plus points. Which they just played the Broncos. That was a bad example. But, I mean, truth is there, they didn't steamroll the Broncos. They won by 7. But if you watch the game, they were in clear control. They controlled the pace using Warren and Harris and Fields on the ground. The aerial attack wasn't necessarily there. It's not really going to be there when Pat Surtain is completely making one side of the field unavailable. But you have that. Defense is going to do its thing, of course, especially with Bo Picks just giving you the ball.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, George Pickens had a phenomenal day against Pat Surtain. He was drawing
He had 2 catches.
Interferences. He was drawing pass interferences, holding on 3rd down. He had a 50-yard catch called back. Like, the stat line might not show it, but
he had 2 catches.
He had a good game.
He had 2 catches. He did not have a good game. He did
He
not have a good game. No, he did not. He had 2 catches. Did not have a good game. No receiver. If you have to, he started drawing penalty. Yeah, he had a bad game. Wrap it up, man. That's like the shit we were doing with Bryce Young for a year and now 2 games. No, he had a bad game. Surtain locked that ass up.
That's not saying much. He's a three corner in the NFL.
Yeah, and it just shows you don't have a wide receiver 1A, so or B for that matter.
But okay, Calvin Austin on the way.
Right. So sure. But yeah, I wouldn't really put the Steelers in that territory. It's something they can improve on. They do need to find like some type of vertical passing game. I think Fields will eventually start trusting his arm a little bit more. The more he starts to hit the dink and dunks, and it's like, all right, I'm feeling some. But yeah, I mean that defense is just going to do its thing. It's just a matter of the offense breaking out of their one dimension esque success. Because a lot of their success is going to be found with Harris, Warren, and Fields on the ground, which is completely fine. This is very 2021 Eagles-esque. This is very, I would say, with some just like really good run game. Kind of like that same year Browns to an extent. I mean, the quarterback's not letting a rip like Baker was, but that's what I would say. Chris, is there any 2-0 teams of whether, it was one of these teams or not? Are there any teams that you thought like, they're not screaming Super Bowl just yet?
Yes, and cover your ears, Tone. I'm sorry. It is the Chargers. And it's not because of Justin Herbert. And it damn sure isn't because of Raven legend who we shouldn't let go, J.K. Dobbins. Not them two. But it's because those are the only two I think are worth anything right now. And I think they're 2-0 is against the Raiders, who are not a good football team, in my opinion. They beat a very bad football team, the Baltimore Ravens, the other day. And against the Panthers, who probably should be in the XFL. I don't think those wins are too impressive. But, I mean, they did blow the Panthers out. They did. And then they beat the Raiders by double digits. But I don't know. It just watching those games, I was able to watch both. I don't know. Like, it wasn't like, oh, yeah, this team's gonna be good when it comes to middle of the season. It just seemed like they beat teams that they're just better than. They're just more talented than, in my opinion. I think they're going to have a positive record, though. I think this 2-0 start is going to help and build some confidence. But, like, I think what you just said is I don't think it's time to scream Super Bowl contenders or come out and win 2 playoff games or win a playoff game or something like that. Definitely a step in the right direction, but I don't think this 2-0 start should make Chargers fans think it's lit now because of that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, their start couldn't be more identical to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are on a crash course to have an all-time 60s matchup. The defense for this team has been holding it down. The run game has been strong. I mean, the vertical passing game for the Chargers is non-existent, like just flat out. Outside of that big play to Quentin Johnston, I think in like the first quarter or so, over J.C. Horn. Shout out to your boy, Danny. Not going to lie. Johnson had a good game. Was, I believe, one of the highest ranking PFF receivers this week. But, yeah, I mean, you got, I'm going to say, double-headed monster running back. Not really. It's carries-wise, yes, because they do split the carries relatively even, but Dobbins is doing a lot more with it than Gus Edwards. But you got to keep feeding Gus Edwards because you want Dobbins to still be incredibly efficient. You don't want to run him to the ground, especially coming off the ACL, the Achilles. So, yeah, that's an entirely fine pick. I still don't think the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl. Our playoffs
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
If they're beating teams that are at their level or clearly below, the wins are going to stack up because they have an easy schedule. So, and same thing with the Steelers. The wins are going to stack up. So,
if looking at the Steelers schedule, they have the Chargers, winnable game. Reality is a winnable game.
We're not doing that. Not doing that. There's no, for these teams specifically, like, what is a winnable game? First of all, you guys are the same tier, so I guess you're winnable, but also losable. So, what teams are you for sure better than on your schedule? Is a better question.
Giants.
Commanders. Giants, yep. Those are for sure wins. You lose those games, you need to be relegated.
Could be the Browns.
Their defense is still like that. So, and it's division rival. I know you never want to give a for sure, to a division rival unless they are that bad, and the Browns aren't that bad.
Raiders. That's probably about it.
I don't even know about the Raiders because their offensive upside, especially what they showed against Baltimore this past Sunday, man, they look good. Like Gardner Minshew's gonna let it rip. You got Devontae Adams, who went absolutely vintage in that fourth quarter. Brock Bowers leads all players. He's tied with Malik Neighbors, all players in targets or receptions, and he's done it. He has 15 catches on 17 targets. Like Bowers has been, I would say, even better than advertised. Yeah, he's not getting in the end zone, but he's been great. That would be a good game, though. I think I would probably lean Pittsburgh. I think they have the means to maybe defend those guys. I want to see. I would be really interested how they handle the 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends of the Raiders. More so how they'll handle Bowers, but I want to know: are they going to are they going to have Elliott guard him? Are they are they going to have It will be interesting. I want to say a for sure win, but that one's definitely marked. The Raiders are an interesting team because Antonio Pierce leads all head coaches in aura. He leads the league in vibes. I can't deny that. He's so Raider. If that makes sense. Like how Mike Tomlin's so Steeler, he's so Raider.
Yeah.
And I think how Nick Sirianni is so getting fired next week.
I think I like Antonio Pierce too. I think I like the way he handles his press conferences too. Like it's never no fluff. And it's never like BS. It's just straightforward and straight to what he wants. And I think the players respect that. You could tell. Like I said, like I forgot who was broadcasting the game when they were playing the Ravens, but they were like, you could tell this team knows that he trusts them. And that's what the Raiders look like. Gardner Minshew, travel pack quarterback, been around a bunch of places, elite weapon in Devontae Adams. And I think you can tell that this team believes in themselves because Dude believes in them. So, like you said, very interesting team.
Yeah, I'd agree. But we can move on to the 0-2 guys who I don't think there's anything to worry about just yet. Do we want to go reverse order? Chris, do you want to kick us off? Again, actually, I'll repeat the 0-2 teams. It is the Panthers, Rams, Giants, Broncos, Bengals, Ravens, Titans, Jags, Colts. So the first four teams I named, yeah, that might be over. Well, Rams, not from a talent perspective, it's just injuries. But, Chris, what 0-2 team is it not over for yet?
It's so Jover for that one team in Baltimore. I don't even want to talk about it. No, I was kidding. I think the Ravens are the team it's not over with for. And like all my troll aside, all my sadness aside, starting 0-2, I think the fixes that the Ravens have to make are doable. Offensive line has to gain more cohesiveness, and you have to just get better play from them. And I think that'll come again with hopefully playing together more. But I think this team is just good enough to bounce back. And I think the defense, we even talk about defenses all day when we talk about the 2-0 for our teams. I think our defense is still really, 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 really good. I think they can still hold teams, to a respectable number to where our offense can still catch up to them. So I could see them rattling off 4 to 6 straight wins at some point. Not sure when, but I could see them doing it just when they catch a rhythm. So right now, I do think it's a little scary just because of the schedule that the Ravens have. Ravens do have a ridiculous schedule. So it is a little scary from that standpoint, but I think the team's good enough. I think John Harbaugh knows that he's more so on the high seat than he's ever been in the last couple of years. And I think that'll hopefully light a fire under him to just take more chances and do what he should do and not just listen to every player, whatever they say do. So, yeah, I think this team is going to be okay. I think it was a decent cause for concern, but not a cause to hit the red panic button and just blow everything up. I think they can figure it out. I think the things that's wrong can be fixed.
Yeah, of all these 0-2 teams, I think the Ravens are most likely to figure it out. The only thing with the Ravens, and this even dates back to the entire Lamar Jackson era, is that like their bad losses are gonna like look real bad. Whether that's play calling.
His Raiders loss was unacceptable. It was unacceptable for so many reasons. So many reasons.
Double-digit lead in the fourth quarter against Gardner Minshew.
Dude,
zero reason to lose this
on the fact of John Harbaugh again being too much of a player's coach, understanding you should not throw that flag at that point. Now you lose a timeout, it carries over. Like it's just so many small things that happen throughout the game that just kind of goes to just the Ravens' way of doing things and the Harbaugh way of doing things. That hopefully these 2 losses kind of wakes them up to understand that you have to kind of break out of that sometimes. Like it doesn't work every single time, and it's shown. So I think that's the biggest part to me, that we can't just do what we do every year and think it's just going to work out. Teams are getting better. Teams are going to catch up. Teams are getting used to an extent what we do. So I think that's more the big fix for them.
Danny, any thoughts on the division rival Baltimore Ravens and their 0-2 start?
Yeah, I think the Ravens are a clear bounce back, but they do get the Cowboys week 3. So one team
The
is going to
Cowboys
be
will be looking to bounce back as well.
One team's going to be 0-3 or 1-2. So one team's going to be in the gutter.
It's going to find out which team is a little bit more desperate. What team has more desperate guys? And I'm not going to lie to you. Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league when it comes to being desperate. And because it doesn't matter how I'm going to get it done. Nobody's open, I'm going to run it. I'm the best in the league at it. And, I got a pretty good arm on me as well. If someone gets open, I'm going to find them. When I don't know if these clutch game-winning drives, or I don't know if they're going to back me up, but I know when Lamar Jackson's in a corner, he's going to do what it takes to try and win his team the game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny when Lamar throws a fit. He looks like a little kid. He's like, ooh.
I think when he throws a fit, like when people talking about, when someone when people say Odell used to throw a fit, he'd look like a diva, but that was clearly passion. But I think no one looks more passionate than Lamar Jackson. I truly don't know how many more people in the NFL actually love the sport as much as he does. But they got to get Malik Harrison off the field. Then they'll start winning football games.
Off the team, off the field was just too nice. He has to get off the team, and then
we have to deport him. Actually,
Trent Simpson.
He has to leave Maryland.
Drop him to the military if you have to. Do what you have to do. He's able-bodied.
Yeah, Trent Simpson's an awesome linebacker. I don't know why he's not playing that as much as
his sole job. I mean, he can tackle in space. He can blitz. He's a fine coverage backer. I mean, fine for a backer is not great, but
he's gonna get
play. If you can't play next to Roquan Smith, you know how bad you are. Patrick Queen was in the gutter before Roquan, and he figured it out, got paid. Now he's a solid backer for the division rival Steelers. But
and the worst part, we've been waiting on Odafe Owe to kill. He's actually doing it, and we're 0-2. It's yay. We were waiting for the Odafe season. He's actually been rushing the quarterback really well, getting down there. That's why I say I think if those things continue to click and they just figure it out on offense and figure out how to stop jagging games in the fourth quarter, easily could turn it around.
Yeah. Danny, just real side note, how is Patrick Queen doing? I mean, I can't say I've been tapped into Steelers film overly too much. Kind of just
in on every single tackle he's in on, it feels like.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's his game. That's what he's gotten used to over the next 2 years. So it's good that he's working out for Pittsburgh. But Danny, I want to ask you, with the Ravens off the board, I feel like there's another team that's, of course, susceptible to a comeback after 0-2, but who do you suspect is going to be okay despite this bad start?
I didn't hear you. Oh, that was Daniel. Might say
he might have froze up, which is fine. But if that's the case, I guess I can go with mine. Since Danny froze up for a second, but I'm gonna stick with my guns here. I'm gonna say the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know I don't know their ceiling anymore with Doug Peterson in the building. I picked them to win Coach of the Year. That was clearly a horrible pick. But I think they didn't have a great day offensively against the Browns. It ended up raining. The Browns were just taking their lunch money, safety, all that. Despite all that, they still had a chance to win the game or tie the game at the end of regulation. Yeah, it had to be a Hail Mary. But I think Lawrence is, look, the numbers will not show it. He's making almost every single play. There was a slant to Brian Thomas. He 100% has to throw, and he bailed the pocket, and that's unacceptable. But Lawrence, Brian Thomas was getting involved in the second half. I feel like he has to go towards that guy more. It's I don't know if this involves a coaching change to get out of this slump. Because they really should not have lost week 1 to Miami. They had them in the bag. And then Cleveland, you kind of just let Deshaun Watson look the best he has in 4 years. So I don't know if that it's a coaching thing or you just got to execute better. But nonetheless, welcome back, Danny. Nonetheless, we were just talking about the Jaguars. I think they have the goods on offense, especially in that second half. I thought they started to find a groove a little bit. Just wish they just got to put 48 minutes, or they got to put 60 minutes of football together. Not 48, not 40, not 30, not even 58. They have to put 60 minutes of football together because they owned Miami in the first half and they owned Cleveland in the second half. So they really just got to figure it out. But yeah, that would be my take. Y'all have any thoughts on the Jags?
Just similar to kind of what you were saying, Tone, already. I think there's just a couple pieces, like not pieces, a couple misplays away, or a couple things that didn't go their way away from being 2-0, or at the very least 1-1. So I think it's just continuing to just feed the playmakers that you do have, Brian Thomas, of course, and I think ETN even more touches out of the backfield somehow, some way, and just continue to let Trevor figure out how to get those guys the ball. I think they'll turn that 0-2 around for sure.
Yep. Because, just got to stick to the guns. But, Danny, any thoughts on the 0-2 Jags? What is any keys to get out of the slump?
Yeah, I wasn't big on the Jags for the season. And I just didn't – I like Brian Thomas, but I don't really like their team outside of Trevor and Thomas. I think their defense is a little weak outside of their two phenomenal edge rushers. I just don't see them as a playoff team, which is unfortunate. They're not one of the better teams in their division.
Yeah, which is fair. Like, I'm picking them based on the expectation I had from this year. Elite quarterback, good weapons. Like Kirk, Brian Thomas, no Evan Ingram because he hurt his hamstring. But, I mean, those are two fine targets. Like, you're not going to hear that. I'm not going to give Trevor, the bad weapons excuse. That's fine. The offensive line ain't great, but the defense played good enough. I mean, yeah, Watson made some plays, but it's not like the Browns' offense was like absolutely mauling this team. And then in week one, on both sides of the ball, they were dominating Miami, and then they let them slip. So, that's my take on the Jags. But Danny, now what 0-2 team do you believe still has a shot at this thing?
Yeah, I think the Bengals. They played both their games without T. Higgins. They played in week 2. They lost a game that they against one of the best teams in the NFL that was clearly in their hands. And I think it's pretty clear that the Bengals are a good football team, and I think the Bengals have convinced me that they're a good football team more than the Ravens have this year.
I think that's a fine take because I would say I think because they both have one disastrous loss
and close loss to the Chiefs.
And then a close loss to the Chiefs. So I mean, it's kind of like you could flip a coin on that one. What's a worse loss, Patriots or the Raiders? But
I'll tell you one thing: I really didn't feel like the Ravens had the game in hand against the Chiefs ever, but I did feel like the Bengals were just gonna coast to a victory against the Chiefs at one point.
Well, the Ravens, they had the ball last. Like they had a real shot beating the Chiefs. I mean, they're Isaiah likely toe away and a Lamar, Zay Flowers miscommunication. Like those are just the little things. Same thing with the Bengals. This game is wrapped up. Don't clothesline somebody in the back of the head with the game on the line on 4th down. Or Jamar Chase. We're crying for hip drop tackles. We didn't even want this rule in the first place. And when your quarterback tells you to back up, you back up. You know how dumb you have to be to piss Joe Burrow off? Not from he's insane. Joe Burrow has Tom Brady tendencies of insanity. But to visibly make Joe Burrow mad, you have to do something so stupid. And those are the two things that ended up costing them against the Chiefs. So, but I would agree with you. The Bengals probably had that game a little bit more in hand. But you could also say a loss to the Patriots is more embarrassing than a loss to the Raiders.
I think they're the same level.
I think the Raiders got more offensive juice while having Max Crosby, so I think they're a bit better than New England. Max Crosby is an absolute monster. Just
My
while
thing
we're
is
on the
that-
topic.
I'll tell you something. The Raiders do have more offensive juice, but the Ravens also let up 23 points on offense to the Raiders offense. Which
Something like
the Ravens are brag about having a great, amazing defense, and their offense, they didn't shut the Raiders offense down. So that could say a lot.
I mean, it was kind of shut down for 3.25 quarters. Kind of.
Yeah.
Kinda, I agree.
It was an absolute disaster of a fourth quarter for Baltimore, unfortunately.
Damn,
And
very very similar fourth quarters for bird teams.
Yeah. The Cardinals, man. What a great team, right?
What a great team.
I mean, I wish we were talking about one teams. I mean, we can while we still have time. I mean, the Cardinals look awesome. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he didn't really do anything after the first quarter, but that was still nuts to have.
It.
He said, "Oh, I called it." Yeah, Danny did make a little fantasy video about 3 guys who are bouncing back, and Harrison was indeed one of them. And truth be told, 2 touchdowns, 130 yards later. Kyler Murray, the K1 fan club has never been so back. I mean, we never left, but we're so back.
He's been in my top 10 agenda for the last 3 years. So
I think I had him at 12 or 13 before the season, just because I can't put him over somebody if he's been injured, limited games. But not too many guys are looking better than Kyler Murray this year. And Danny's dark horse MVP pick is not too far out of question. It's just a matter of how many games can they win.
I think that Kyler Murray has the potential to be better than Lamar Jackson.
Like I said on last episode, the conversations were there. And Lamar Jackson is going to be the line. I want to say the line as in he's like QB5 in a league. That's not the point. But my quarterback's elite because then they're going to target Lamar Jackson immediately or Justin Herbert immediately because those are some of the guys. And, it's an annoying process. But Murray has if he puts together a solid season, he's right back in those conversations. And as he should be.
Justin Fields right with them.
Anyway, back to Murray. I want to propose a question. I think I know the answer to this question. Who do you think the media would vote for more in terms of an MVP? A wild card Josh Allen or a wild card
Josh Allen?
Kyler Murray? Think they'll lean
Josh
Allen?
Allen 100%. They've been waiting on this.
Yeah, but I mean the Bills making the playoffs will include a Josh Allen having a good year, who is alongside Justin Fields the only quarterbacks who are 2-0, no turnovers, which is absolutely phenomenal. By Fields specifically with his 41 career giveaways and Josh Allen, who, look, if he's not putting it in the end zone, he's putting it in the hands of the other team. So I think I picked Allen to win MVP. I think it still looks sharp. The stats haven't been out of this world. I'm really impressed with James Cook. And this defense, Sean McDermott will never put together a bad defense. Let me never say that again. And he's a strong candidate for Coach of the Year as well. But I mean, Murray, he's throwing touchdowns and looking around the moment he lets go of the ball. He's letting things rip deep in the seam in the back of the end zone to Marvin Harrison. He's extending plays.
Curry-esque. Steph Curry.
It was, bro. He's really just Trae Young. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He really is just like Trae Young. Now that someone mentioned it,
is he more Trae or Steph?
Trae.
Trae.
Mahomes is Steph-esque. You're gonna see more wild shit out of Mahomes, stuff you've never behind the back pass.
Okay, you see stuff like that, but you also see some stuff with Kyler that you're like, what?
But
it's more. I would say the appeal with Kyler is that he's so little, and it's that he's don't let it. He's not 5'10", but he's 5'8". He's really 5'8", ducking 250+ pound defenders, throwing them off of him because he's a strong body, extending plays, throwing touchdowns off the back foot. That's where I think where with Trae, it's he's undersized and he's making people miss. He's hitting step backs. He's hitting these mean floaters over these centers. I think you're more enamored by the size of it all. It also has a Jalen Brunson-esque type of feel to it because he's like the shorter, stockier guy. So I could see either one if we're going to do NFL, NBA comparisons at least.
Oh, also, you can blame Jalen Brunson for last night. He went to the.
I blame you. I blame you. Maybe I should have told you don't go after all. Nah, I mean, no one's ever in jinx. And Jalen Brunson is always welcome in the city of Philadelphia. In my eyes, he's a Nova legend, lifelong Eagles fan. So he's cool with me.
Ryan Arcidiacono, best Philadelphia player of all time.
I guess I can't think of some other.
No, there's no other ones.
Other 1-1 teams.
Other 1-1 teams that I like, the 49ers. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Outside of the injury bug and Shanahan getting fathered by Brian Flores again, like they're going to be fine. How will Brock Purdy react? That is actually one thing I did say is not that you want the injury bug, but the Niners are about to find out what Brock Purdy's made of. How are you going to act when you have 4 All-Pros instead of 6? And if he looks decent, they're like, okay, we can pay this guy.
I'll tell you something.
And if he looks bad, it's like, hey, we're going to learn Shedeur Sanders.
I'm not sold that the Dolphins are cooked without Tua.
I think they are.
I think a veteran quarterback could come in and operate that offense.
They're bringing in Tyler Huntley, though.
I don't think he's their option number 1.
I mean, that's who they're about to roll out with next week. And Tua's on IR. So over the next 4 weeks, unless they bring in like a real viable backup option, things are
Skylar Thompson said that's his team. Don't play around with him.
Skylar Thompson, I think, has made 3 career starts for the Dolphins, and I don't know why he's on the team.
I'm pretty sure he threw for 300 yards in the playoffs. Like, I don't know how, but he did.
Yeah, because the Bills were on ultimate troll mode. He's not good, dude.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm
no. I get what you mean, but like Tyler, when you say like veteran QB, that holds the same weight as former Pro Bowl quarterback when it comes to Snoop. So I would have preferred them. They should have made the call about Dalton before the Panthers even played in week 2.
Yo, you know what they should do? If the Panthers are committed to Dalton, give me Bryce Young.
I don't think they're going to trade Bryce. That would be extremely like. Why Bryce though? You would want like a vet guy, no? Because you just pay Tua as well. Because like if Bryce Young balls out, then you have 2 franchise quarterbacks on your hand, and like which I doubt Bryce Young will do.
Tua might be cooked.
Tua's not retiring, so
he's not retiring. He's not retiring, but
if he wants to play, they're going to play him because he's making $200 million.
He's an idiot for doing that. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't call him an idiot because I mean, you pour so much into the game, and when it comes to concussions, it's like you can be as educated as you want, but like you feel fine. Like don't you hear healed from a concussion? I don't know who's had a concussion here, but
I have. I've had like multiple.
Yeah. So maybe you should hang it up, buddy. But you know how it feels. Like once you're fine, like you're fine. Like you're good. You feel great. It's not a hip or a knee or anything like that.
Yeah, but the voices do start talking to you.
I don't think I can't back you on that I have schizophrenia. I don't think the voices aren't talking to me. At least they're like, from a sense of former concussions, but
they're like, go hip, try to tackle him. Go.
They said run DeMar Hamlin over.
Bro, but they said DeMar Hamlin got a 1 KD.
All right, man. That's ridiculous. That is pretty nuts. If we're trying to shine some light on anything, but I mean, if Tua's gonna keep playing football, it's that's entirely.
Wait, actually, let's be honest. Tua continuing to play is less crazy than DeMar Hamlin continuing to play.
I think they're both up there just because of Tua's history. DeMar Hamlin just had to survive. Surviving is just
that's what I'm saying.
That was nuts. That was just nuts in general. So yeah, I know DeMar's is pretty up there because he like died. So Tua, I mean, I don't want to compare these two things. I feel like pretty crappy about it because they're both really bad. But at least Tua wasn't taken on a stretcher. He was able to get up, but you could see his body tense up, like the one against the Bengals. I will say, concussion aside, Tua was playing absolutely awful.
So he might have had a concussion before the game because the way he was throwing the football.
Dude, he played so bad against the Packers when he got that third concussion. He was playing so bad they had to look back and see where he banged his head. That's how bad he was playing.
I remember. It was hilarious.
Yeah, because it wasn't reported until after the game, and that's where like the retirement talks really started to ramp up.
But how do you feel about the 1-1 Green Bay Packers?
That's a great topic. Let's talk about it because they clearly played a better game in Week 1, offensively, even with all the love, missed throws and drops, and the crappy field of Brazil, and you lose it. But I think not to get the Packers are still going to be a playoff team, in my opinion. But what I think this game kind of showed a little bit more about how the Colts are just going to be. They're going to have highs, they're going to have lows on this offense. But as for the Packers, I think it's fine. Like, they obviously didn't throw the ball a lot, but the Colts, they had nothing for this run game, which is absolutely great news for the Packers, that they're going to be able to run this ball once Jordan Love gets back in the mix. So I think they're going to be fine.
Stink. They were better off with Gardner Minshew than they were with Anthony Richardson.
That's such a bad take because they're never reaching the highs that Anthony Richardson is going to provide. And I'd much rather have the highs of a 22-year-old quarterback than the highs of Gardner Minshew.
No. I agree that he provides a higher ceiling. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the floor of the team is god awful. Like,
yeah,
when Anthony Richardson plays bad, they lose. Like they literally just lose because he sails throws.
But I would say flat out, you take those lows with a 22-year-old quarterback than a journeyman like Gardner Minshew. It's that simple.
Okay,
they're still going to stumble to 9-8, 10-7 with Anthony Richardson playing like prime Jamarcus Russell every 2 games.
You do, but at some point you need to see some better consistency, and he can't turn the ball over because he had once he starts figuring out and not turning the ball over, he'll be very, very good, probably a top 10 quarterback in the league. But until then, he literally is playing like remember the NFL used to talk about Justin Herbert as a highlight reel quarterback. No, turn your eyes to Anthony Richardson. He went 7 of 17 Week 1. He literally only connected on deep balls.
Okay, so again, let's talk about Anthony Richardson because he has logged like 17 starts since graduating high school.
I understand that.
He's gonna have a much longer leash than whatever you're anticipating. A much longer leash.
No,
and the fact that he is already he flat out has the strongest arm in the NFL. Already.
He does.
He can connect on deep shots.
He's a freak. He's a absolute freak.
So he's going to have a much longer leash. If Justin Fields is still starting in this league, then he's going to be just fine. So, because he's even freakier than Justin Fields, even stronger arm than Fields. Fields is obviously connecting a lot better on the shorter stuff, but Richardson, it's just going to be growing pains. But his freakish athleticism to go along with this star-studded run game with him and Taylor, I think they're going to be fine. And as 32 GMs, they're picking Richardson over Minshew.
No, 100% of the time. And
so, I wouldn't say they're better off with Minshew.
I just think that they'll finish with a better record last year than they did this year.
I'd take it 10 times out of 10. Because Minshew, he's a steady guy, gonna get you what you can. They did also have the luxury of probably the weakest schedule in the NFL when Minshew started playing. So, take that for what you will.
That's fair.
I think Richardson's going to be just fine.
He'll be fine eventually. I don't know if it's this year though. I don't know if he reaches.
I think
his
by
peak.
Week 7, he's figured it out. That's how I feel about it. I'm very much on the Richardson train.
I'm impressed by his highs, but his lows make me scared.
I take the highs. I take the high. Look, when we're talking about any Carson Wentz prototype, you just gotta risk it for the biscuit when it comes to these highs.
Dude, he is.
Look, I was
literally
telling this to
peak
my boy
Carson
Uski in the
Wentz.
mall, man. I've said this a million times. You're either Carson Wentz or you're Kirk Cousins. And Richardson is a souped up Carson Wentz. He looks just like rookie Carson Wentz, but he's way more freakish of an athlete. And
Why does he play so stiff?
Richardson, not exactly sure. It's probably because he's like slightly a bodybuilder. But yeah, he'll
Like, you know what I'm saying? He like doesn't look like Fields kind of looks that way a little this year. He looks like he's but he's turning the ball over less like that. He's playing more controlled almost, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's still learning. I mean, he's just a baby. He's still learning pocket footwork. He's still learning mechanics. He's still learning RPOs. That's the great thing about him. We're having these conversation of these are top 10 QB highs. He's just a baby.
He's just the baby. You're gonna edit the baby into.
Okay.
Anyway, I think Richardson could be good. I think he needs a lot of development still. I think we saw the same issues at Florida though. And not every quarterback's Jalen Hurts. Not every quarterback's making improvements every year. So.
I mean, he played 10 games.
Yeah, but I think we gotta give him like at least game 15.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, he's clocked 17 starts since he graduated high school.
But okay, my thing is for the Colts, you can't do what the Niners did with Trey Lance. The Niners literally didn't play Trey Lance. I know. Like they didn't play Trey Lance, and Trey Lance regressed. Like he lost confidence and regressed because they didn't play him.
And that's why the Colts made the good decision from day one, which I completely agreed with. Yeah, he's raw, but he needs to play football. Because to the point where he started his rookie year, it's like, dude, he's logged 10 games. He has to play. Yeah, it's going to get ugly at times, but he just needs to play football.
And
like, he hasn't played a lot of football, so still stands.
If Drake May can figure it out.
What? So I'm confused. That's the thing that comes back to the start of this episode. What does Drake May need to figure out? I never looked at Drake May as a prospect and said he's not ready.
I asked my friend last night, works for the Eagles. I said, as an NFL front office member, why is Drake May not playing? And you know what he told me? He said that the Patriots don't feel comfortable putting him out there with a bad team, and they know that they're not in contention to win anything this year, so they don't want to hold his confidence levels back and not let him progress at the right rate. So they want him to kind of work on the practice squad and kind of develop confidence and learn the scheme, and then maybe he picks up week 6, 7, 8, 9 when the offense gets more flow to it.
Respectfully, the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
I'm with that. I think it's stupid, but I mean, there is some merit, I guess, to say that. Like, you don't want to destroy his confidence by playing with Pop Douglas as your wide receiver 1.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're talking about going out there and competing, Drake May is your best option. So that is just flat out. Yeah, look, the kid's gonna have good and bad games, just like any other rookie. But I don't know. I really don't want to sound this way because I'm a big advocate for mental health. But if he goes out there and he stinks it up as a rookie and he's just broken, were you ever built for it? Like, I don't know. Like, who's a I'm trying to think of a rookie quarterback who strolled out there in probably the worst situation ever and he turned out fine.
Trevor Lawrence, dude.
Trevor Lawrence, perfect example. The worst situation I think I've ever seen for a rookie quarterback, and he's fine. He's earned that second contract. One of the best 10 quarterbacks in football. As long as you don't go on #his app.
I don't know, dude. He had a despicable stat line at one point of the Browns game. It was pretty.
Yeah,
funny.
but while I was saying, like, actually, while I was talking about the Jags, it's like he really did pick it up second half. But you are right. That was diabolical. But yeah. Do we have anything else to really chat on at all?
I think
anything else anyone wanted to bring up?
What I will say, I think week 3 gives us the true essence of football. Teams are settling in. Teams are starting to fight for their record, and This is what you see where teams are made of. Our 1-1 team is going to go 1-2 and start and look bad. Our 0-2 team's going to become an 0-3 at the Ravens, at the Panthers, obviously. I mean, probably, but like you need to see like what teams are made of, and you start to see that in week 3 and 4 of the NFL. So, I think we get reduced to like 3 or 4 remaining 2-0 teams after this week. So.
Well, I remember a couple years back, I think the Bears started like 3-2 or something, and then they lost every single game for the rest of the year.
No, they started 2-0 or 2-1 or something like that.
Or and the Panthers a couple years ago with Sam Darnold, his first year there, they started 3-0. They missed the playoffs.
I wish we talked about Sam Darnold a little bit, but I think he looks amazing.
Yeah, but we're definitely gonna let that marinate before we get into anything. What we won't let marinate is that Justin Jefferson is the world's best football player.
Well, that doesn't need to marinate. That's been in the oven for about 3 years now.
Ball nowhere, my friend. That kid has the hashtag sauce. He said respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson he's a damn good player. Not a lot of people can say respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson, but he went up there, said that, and backed it up.
He's so funny, dude.
Yeah. And he tries to be so humble about it all. Dude, pop your collar, man. You're the best this sport has to offer. Anything else before we say before we get on out of here?
That's all.
All right.
Nope.
Again, just want to remind you guys, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, if you're listening to us on audio platforms. Make sure you leave a 5-star like and review, and follow it. Follow the show, of course. From AP New Freezer, Culture by Amigos, DC Comics. Danny, please stop popping the Illuminati. I'd really appreciate it. I don't know what Danny just did. He just did some. I don't know.
But
I don't know what that was.
It works only on Max. It's if you do the heart sign, it's a couple different things you can do. A couple different things. Yeah, there you go.
The heart sign, man, I've seen enough. From AP New Freezer, Culture by Amigos, DC Comics. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.